May I kindly request those in the audience to please maintain silence. We would like to start. We're truly sorry for the delay by a few minutes. Please excuse us. I kindly request the live streamer that we are all set to go live. So you may please start the live streaming on YouTube. Yeah? Yeah. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Center for Public Policy and Governance at the Goa Institute of Management, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all, distinguished guests, participants from academia, civil society, the legal community, and the wider public, to this evening's special talk and discussion on Supreme Court judgments on human rights, mining, and the environment. We are indeed pleased to be hosting this event at the International Center, and we also extend a warm welcome to all those who have joined us online on YouTube. It is our honor and privilege to welcome our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Colin Gonsalves, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, and founder of the Human Rights Law Network. A warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Today's session comes at a particularly important juncture. The intersections between mining, environmental concerns, human rights, especially those of the Adivasi communities, bring to the fore complex legal, ethical, and policy challenges. In his lecture, Dr. Colin will reflect on the evolving role of the judiciary, the journey of environmental justice in India, and the ongoing debates surrounding the rights and future of some of the country's marginalized communities. We truly hope that the talk will not only deepen our understanding of these complex legal and policy issues, but will also inspire meaningful dialogue on the road ahead. Once again, thank you everyone for being with us in person and to those who would have tuned in to our live YouTube streaming. With that, may I now kindly request our dignitaries to please take their seats on the dais. I kindly request Professor Morris to escort Dr. Colin Gonsalves. Professor Kinshuk Sarkar may also kindly join them. Thank you. I now kindly request my colleagues, Shruti and Nandini, to please present a bouquet to our dignitaries. I kindly request Nandini to present Dr. Colin Gonsalves with a few flowers. I kindly request Shruti to present a bouquet to Professor Morris. Nandini to kindly present a bouquet to Dr. Kinshuk Sarkar. Thank you. I now kindly request Professor Morris to say a few words on the institution and also set the context. Before that, I will very briefly introduce Dr. Colin Gonsalves. Dr. Colin Gonsalves is the founder of the Human Rights Law Network, India's leading public interest law group. Upon attaining his law degree in 1983, he co-founded the Human Rights Law Network and developed it into a national organization, bringing together over 200 lawyers and paralegals operating out of 28 offices spread throughout India. Dr. Gonsalves transitioned his practice from the labor courts to the Bombay High Court in 1984 and was designated as senior advocate before moving into the Supreme Court of India in 2000. He has brought numerous precedent-setting cases to the Supreme Court and the High Court of various states. Amongst these cases was the right to food case in the Supreme Court of India, which ordered subsidized grains to be given to 700 million poor persons. He has written edited and co-edited a number of articles and books on a range of human rights law issues. He was presented with the International Human Rights Award by the American Bar Association in 2005. In 2010, he was conferred a doctorate of the university honoris causa by the University of Middlesex, UK. He was given the Mother Teresa Memorial Award for Social Justice in recognition of remarkable contribution in legal services addressing human rights in 2010, and an award of the Center for Reproductive Rights, New York, 2015, for pioneering and exemplary leadership in advancing women's reproductive rights and social justice in India. He was awarded the Right Livelihood Award in 2017. Most recently, Dr. Gonsalves was involved in important climate change cases, the Chardham case in the Himalayas and the Coastal Road case in Mumbai, a series of important abortion rights important abortion rights cases, the premature release of prisoners who were incarcerated for long periods of time, in cases involving non-violent social activists who were granted statutory bail, a series of petitions done during the COVID period on health rights, cases on behalf of migrant workers who were forced to leave the cities and walk hundreds of kilometers to their villages, the social boycott of Dalits in the state of Haryana, the protection of farmers, the protection of tribals across India who were threatened with mass eviction, and so on. A very warm welcome to you, sir, once again. We are truly and indeed honored to have you with us. I now kindly request Professor Sebastian Morris, Chair, Center for Public Policy and Governance, Goa Institute of Management, to say a few words and to set the context for today's session.
Thank you, Bernice, and thank you and welcome, Dr. Colin Gonsalves. It's indeed a pleasure to be sitting and sharing the dais with you, and being here with an esteemed audience as we have here. I wish the director, Dr. Ajit Parulekar, was here. He should have been here, but he could not be because of a personal emergency. So I will say a few words about the institute as well. So the Goa Institute of Management was set up some 25 years ago by Father Romaldo, and he had the distinction of having set up putting it as part of the Jesuit institutions. He created an independent board for the institute, gathered money from a wide variety of sources. So the institute has no real controller as such. So it's self-managed. We have a board, and it has grown from strength to strength. And we have around 1,800 students on campus. Okay. Yeah. So we have around 1,800 students on campus in about 4 programs. One is an MBA program. The other is a healthcare management program, also an MBA program, big data analytics, and financial management and financial services management. So these programs, some of them we have been pioneers, for instance, in healthcare and big data. Of course, subsequent to that, other institutions were much better endowed in financial terms have come up as well. So the institute, of course, is ranked very high, probably it's the top leading institution in the concern for the environment and for society, that means for sustainability. So we have several centers at the institute. One is the Center for Social Sustainability, the other is the Center for Environment, and the third is the Center for Public Policy and Governance. Okay, so these centers hope to bring an agenda and an awareness beyond, the run-of-the-mill business and management of businesses. So like many of the management schools, we don't call ourselves as a business school, but as a school of management, and that difference is very significant. Okay, so that's about the institute. Much of the rest that anybody may be interested is on the website. It's a completely open institution whose annual accounts and so on are all available for everyone. It has a very distinguished board and a society. Okay. Now, on the context of this talk by Dr. Colin Gonsalves, we had a 2-day seminar on mining in India with a subchapter on mining in Goa, because Goa has been at the forefront of raising the issues related to mining in a very significant way. So, at the end of these 2 days, which we had yesterday and the day before that, Thursday and Friday. So so Colin's presentation comes as a kind of finale to this seminar. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that we thought that this would be of interest to the larger public, particularly in Goa, and hence we scheduled it here rather than at the institute, which is in Sankli. Okay. Now, coming to the context as we see it, I have been teaching ethics for a long time. In fact, I designed the ethics program at IIM Ahmedabad, and subsequently I've taught it here as well. Now, when we look at ethics, it's quite clear, and there can be little argument, that there is something absolute in ethics. While on sexual mores and so on, we may vary, cultures may be different. There is something which is very absolute in ethics. And what is that? And that is the idea of equality and the idea of the human person. Okay? I can't harm an individual ex ante in order to create value. We often hear politicians saying things like, you see, in order for development, if development has to happen, then some people are going to lose or get hurt. Okay? And therefore my job is to ensure that they are either compensated or that they are pacified. Now, this is only partly true. Okay? Indeed, if people are going to get hurt, and in the sense that their lives are at stake or they get diseased and so on, then that is simply not on. Okay? No ethical system can justify it. What can be justified is a development where there can be money transfers, not to compensate for life or hurt to humans, but for value losses. And those we know have to be paratoptimal. So the Indian Constitution, at least by design and intent, has created a democracy and a thriving democracy. So that's the first condition for any society to be ethical. It's difficult to talk about ethics, let's say in a country like China, because upfront the political system is not even in design ethical. The Indian political system, at least in design, hopes to be ethical, though in actual outcomes it may not be. So at least we crossed the first hurdle. But recently, one has heard not just politicians, but even businessmen and even academics kind of saying that, look, in development and particularly in mining, some of the stalwarts, in fact, the stalwart on mining in India, made a presentation at the IMA, where this was, of course, quite some time back, maybe 10 years ago, when he said that, look, people are bound to get hurt in mining. But therefore, what is your job as a great manager? It is to do a lot of CSR. Some of us were squirming in our seats. Okay? But the point is, these kind of ideas have become, I won't say common, they're troubling because they're intuitively quite, angular to the basic thoughts, the basic idea of ethics that all of us carry. But they are becoming popular. They are becoming convenient statements that we make. So, this is something which has been troubling us. And what we would like to know from Colin is, how far are we really ethical? How far has the system gone? I mean, what is at one stage it looked as if the Supreme Court would uphold human rights and the rights of individuals over that of the state to just develop or to, strive for development. But today we don't know. So why are the courts so fickle? Why do they waver? Why do they change? Okay. Is there something wrong with the judicial system? Is it because we have statutory approach and an approach of statutes rather than case law? How important is case law in India? What explains this, kind of flip-flop of the Supreme Court on so many matters, and not just on the aspect of hurt to tribe and to people? And tribals are among the worst hit because they are the most vulnerable, and they are in areas where the population density is low, and they are in areas where there is still tree cover, because they could not, for God alone knows what reasons, be accepted within mainstream society. Despite 3,000 years of civilization, there is no country which has a tribal population with such a vast a history of civilization. But be that as it may, today tribals face the brunt of ore extraction. And so where are we? Is there hope? What can be done? These are of much interest to all of us, including to our management students, because they are called upon to be ethical. Now, if that has got to be something more than platitudes, okay, it's easy to convert SDG, the environment, ethics, and so on to platitudes, and then quietly do whatever is business as usual. But if it has to be real, then we need to really understand the issues. So I won't stand in between you and Dr. Colin Gonsalves. So over to you, sir. We look forward to hearing from you. Okay.
I had a little dilemma as to how I should begin my talk here today. There have been many speeches made in many fora, and my tribal activist friends are sitting at the back who know about not only tribal rights but also the law better than all lawyers. So when you have experts like the tribal leaders who are present, you must understand and defer to them. That is not the lawyers who understand the situation. It's those who struggle in mass organizations that do understand that. If I was making this little talk 10 years ago, I would start in a very academic and legal way. I would talk about the provisions of the Constitution. I would talk about the scheduled areas. I would talk about the rights of the tribals in scheduled areas, which are remarkable rights. Our Constitution gives us remarkable. And I would talk about certain judgments, like the Odisha judgment, the Neyamgiri judgment, the Samatha Judgment, and so on. And I would be so happy with myself, and so proud of our Constitution, and so proud of our Supreme Court, and so proud of our jurisprudence. But I am a different man today. I am no longer proud. I am angry, but I am no longer proud of what our courts are doing. And what has happened in the last particularly 7 years. And you know why I'm saying 7 years as well. It coincides with the rise of a certain kind of politics and ideology and hatred and violence and discrimination and anger and exploitation and killing, all associated with the present government. The government has successfully managed to decimate our judiciary. Once upon a time, we had stalwarts. In the emergency, we had Mr. Khanna, Justice Khanna, who was supposed to be Chief Justice of India, and he said, to hell with it. I will oppose the emergency. I know I will never be made. I'll be superseded. And he said, to hell with it. Fine men of metal and women of metal. Fine people. But that is not the situation today. 7 years, sorry. And you can safely say that our judiciary has become a very timid and supine force, standing before the executive with a bowed head. And our chief justices have allowed all kinds of people who should never have been allowed as a judge, forget judge of the Supreme Court, should never have been allowed as a judge of the Supreme Court. They are there. Some very good people, no doubt. Like we are insurgents in society, I'm proudly saying that. We are insurgents in society. Our job is to undermine the rule of disorder. The government is the rule of disorder, the rule of violence, the rule of corruption. Our job is to fight against the government tooth and nail, without violence, of course. Without violence. I must clarify. Otherwise, the government will take me straight from here to the police station. Anyone. You don't have to think that you're a Supreme Court lawyer or whatever, so you're immune. Without violence. And today, we must speak in a different light. In the sense that the law by itself is no use talking about. Although we have one of the finest systems of law in the world. Finest systems. But when you look at practice, it's a different story altogether. And so today one must speak of the intermingling of law and struggle. The intermingling of law and human rights. And the intermingling of law with the defense of tribals. So it can't be a purely legal lecture, and it must reflect a genocidal kind of situation in the country. If somebody will excuse me, you should not use this term too lightly, maybe they would be correct, then I'll tone it down to ethnic cleansing. But ethnic cleansing I will defend vigorously, that the term ethnic cleansing of tribals is certainly a valid accusation to make in it. I have had the good fortune of working with all my friends in the audience here. I knew nothing of tribal law. I still know nothing as compared to them. But over the years, I was a little blessed because they attended many meetings. I attended many of their meetings. I learned tribal rights and the constitution bit by bit. They are still far ahead of me. Far, far ahead, because it's their life. I'll do a case here, then I'll do some other case, then I'll do some other case. But I have learned and I've been blessed by their presence because they have taught me how one can articulate the rights of tribals in the background of our constitution, our marvelous constitution. I've also had the good fortune of working with tribals in 3 close areas. One is Chhattisgarh. Clear-cut ethnic cleansing. You can say clear-cut genocide. Manipur, clear-cut ethnic cleansing. And some other states where the degree of the attack is not so sharp. But in India, one thing is clear, and we must say this very clearly academically wherever we go, or in public meetings, or in struggle meetings, or in the rural areas, in the tribal area, we must say one thing. There is a war going on between Government of India and tribals. There's no doubt about it. It's a full-scale war. I'll describe some of the aspects of that war. And the government is out to kill the tribals on as large a scale as possible. And I'll explain that with facts and figures when I speak a little later. And they kill them for what reason? Why are they killing them? The Kukis in Manipur live in the mountains. There's nothing in the land. You can't grow a crop on the land. Why are they killing them? Since January, February 2022, hundreds have been killed. Perhaps 1,000. 750 churches burnt, 800 villages burnt to the ground. 2 or 3 young men, a young footballer, I forget his name. I should not forget such things because it's very important. But I forget his name at the moment. Beheaded. People's limbs cut on video by the militants in the militant dominant groups in Manipur. It's genocide, there's no doubt about it. And Chhattisgarh, of course. I'll start with Chhattisgarh. Because it's a war. A war where no one comes to the aid of the tribals. Nobody comes to the aid of the tribals. It's like it's a black hole. Chhattisgarh has become a black hole. Nobody talks about it, nobody listens. Journalists find it difficult to write. Papers will not report. Because our Home Minister Amit Shah is himself involved. And he keeps on talking rubbish like urban Naxals and all that. I want to say a few words about Maoism also. A few words about Maoism, which is not in accordance with the trend in our country of speaking very politely and docilely, and of talking rubbish when the truth must be told. I'm not in the habit of that, but I want to say a few words about Maoism. We had the first initial round of success in the Salva Judum case in the Supreme Court. The Chhattisgarh government had recruited total gundas and rascals and criminals. Everyone with a criminal record come join the police force and gave them a police badge, a police appointment, and employed them in the hundreds to ferret out Naxals. As if Naxals are going to be ferreted out by these kind of characters, you know. They are made of sterner stuff. They're made of steel. You may not agree, you may not like them, you may criticize them, you may call them terrorists. Do what you like. But there are some things that, you know, should not be stretched beyond the point. Some kind of language and all should not be stretched beyond the point. Better to look at things factually, correctly, accurately. So they were merrily going about the place killing people. What were the Salva Judum people doing who were policemen? They were raping women. They were robbing their chickens. They were stealing their utensils. They were raiding their houses. They were doing every crime in the book. And the government of India watched. And the Chhattisgarh government watched. And then, of course, Nandini Sundar took a case to court, saying, how can you have people with criminal records and no police training being appointed as policemen? And I must say, normally a case like this would not be entertained because, like I said, our judges don't have courage. But there were 2 judges with courage, and there are always some people with courage. It's not as if the whole institution is, you know, surrendered. It was Justice Sudhanshu something and anyway, forget the names of the judges. So they asked the government, how can you do this? How do you appoint them? How much training? They said 3 months. What training? A very facile answer. Oh sir, we teach them in Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code. What a joke. You're training people in the use of arms and weapons and so on. You're allowing them, you get a permission when you become a policeman to kill a human being, and you give them 3 months training and a revolver, a pistol, and you say, okay, go and kill people. So at the end of the matter, the judges said you have to disband the Salva Judum. That was a huge victory. Disband. Ordinary judges would not have done that kind of thing. And it took the government by surprise because there were thousands of these guys roaming around the countryside doing all kinds of illegality in the tribal areas of Chhattisgarh. Now the situation is slightly different. Time has passed. The court has become weaker. The government has become stronger. Now who cares a hoot about what the Supreme Court says? Who cares? what the Supreme Court says. And so now you have a resurgence of the same Salva Judum, but now with a different name and perhaps with a little bit more formality. You must do paperwork. If you want to allow people to kill people, at least do paperwork properly so that you can satisfy any court or any inquiry or something. The intent is the same, the killing is the same, the people have the same mentality, the killers. But do the paperwork, for God's sake. So they did the paperwork. Now they are back into the fray and they are killing. Now in the latest thing, and there have been instances of killing of tribals leading up to the present one where our Home Minister was involved. Not personally, obviously, he ordered the killings and he proudly orders. So I have no hesitation in telling you what has happened. Because he proudly owns up to the thing and so on. Before that, a few years ago, because the present instance is 2014, 2015, before that, tribals have been killed by the security forces again and again. And 2 or 3 cases came to the court. One was by Himanshu Kumar, a wonderful young socialist, not young anymore, but socialist activist, Himanshu Kumar, who started taking up issues of killings of tribals, torture of tribals, and they bulldozed his ashram. He had an ashram. He was a member of the Child Welfare Committee, he was a member of this and that, of the government, the Legal Aid Society, etc. They got so irritated with him, they bulldozed his ashram. Smashed it. Nothing he can do about it, because the law doesn't work now in India. They bulldozed the ashram, and his little daughter said, sir, when she saw her doll, a cotton doll coming under the wheels of the vehicle that they were using, he said, Papa, why are they killing my doll? And he had no words to say to his daughter. Why are they killing my doll, Papa? And they threw him out of Chhattisgarh on pain of, surrender, and then they'll put him in jail and so on, make false charges against a thoroughly non-violent man. His only weapon, like all our weapons, like all of us, his only weapon was his brain and his tongue. A tongue that can't be suppressed, and a brain which is angry and fights against the injustice done there. Beautifully done. So he took that case to court. And when we took that case to court, and we said that the persons who killed the tribals, and they gave evidence, were people in police uniforms. Everyone got very excited and very angry that we should accuse the police of such ignoble acts. But the police, this is the norm, this is the routine to do this kind of thing. There's nothing outlandish about making an allegation like this. So to prove whether the tribals were actually speaking the truth, the judge said, call them. Call them and bring them here in front of me. So they went. The Chhattisgarh police called them, brought them to Delhi, and presented them before the judge. Everything went well. They said, yes, people in uniform came, they killed us. No, they didn't say people, they said people came out and killed us, etc., etc., etc. And the stand of the government was, maybe you got killed. But it wasn't us, it was the Naxalites. So when you talk to tribals, I tell you, very easy. These complicated issues of fact are very easily decided. You just have to talk to any tribal, anywhere in Chhattisgarh. Do the Naxalites kill you? No, sir. Why should we say? They are our friends. Strange, isn't it? Do they rob your chickens? Do they rape your women? Do they steal things? Do they extort food from you? No, sir. They don't do anything like that. They are not people who are our enemies. Now, what a statement. You can take any tribal anywhere in Chhattisgarh. You don't have to believe my story or anybody. What a statement. From the poorest of the poor in the state, that, sir, they are not our enemies. Humko satata nahi. हमको तंग नहीं करता, हमको परेशान नहीं करता है। ये ठीक है सर, उसका व्यवहार ठीक है, हमारे साथ व्यवहार ठीक है। It gives you a kind of a wake-up call. Why is something so self-obvious, so clear to ordinary people who don't tell lies, by the way? They don't have our custom of telling lies. Why is that so difficult for the nation to understand? So, during cross-examen, they tricked me a little bit and they asked the tribal. You see, they were brought, or they asked the tribal this question: do you know who did it? And they said no. We were startled because we had talked to them earlier, and they said, of course we know. These were police in commando uniforms and so on. And we know from this police station that we recognize some of them. And then I realized, when I asked them, why did you answer like this? He said, sir, पुलिस वालों ने हमारे गांव में आया और लेकर आया दिल्ली, और दिल्ली में पुलिस क्वार्टर्स में रखा हमको उसके साथ, और वापस जाते समय पुलिस के साथ में जाना पड़ा। तो बोलूं कैसे? How can we say? We are under their thumb, under their control. How can we say? I understood. That became the cornerstone of the case, and I was scolded by the court. What is this, Mr. Gonsalves? How are you saying these reckless things and all that? And the court threatened Mr. Himanshu, selfless social activist, threatened him with imprisonment for misleading the court and contempt of court and all that. So I did my groveling as a lawyer is inclined to do when you find the court totally against you and wishing to crush your client. So I said, sir, we have no axe to grind in all this. If you feel, sir, that is not an important case, I'll withdraw the case, no problem. But please leave Mr. Himanshu alone. He's not responsible for this, sir. So that case came to an end. And after that, a second case, similar killings. And in every case, the police are coming to your area. The innocent people, many of them minors. So you have list of people, 17, 16, 15, 14, coming out with their hands up and shot to death. Why? No weapon found in the village, no firing on the forces, yet shot to death. And later on we realized, we didn't realize that, we know that was because when you kill a Naxalite, you get money, several lakhs of rupees. I think 5 lakhs per Naxalite, which is a horrible thing to do in a democratic country. To pay people, to pay your police force to kill people. And then you get all kinds of awards. You get promotions, you get this, you get that. Now, I'm not condemning every police person. I don't want to say that at all. There are policemen who are perhaps also from the tribes. And it must be breaking their heart to see what's happening to their, fellow countrymen, fellow tribals in the state. Must be. But the fault lies with the leadership at the top, not with the rank and file and the havildars and the sepoys and so on, who encourage this kind of conduct in a democratic world. And why they do it, we'll come to that a little later. But you get money and you get awards. So people are quick to report a killing of a Naxalite, collect the money, and senior officers who know that it may not be correct actually. This man was not a Naxalite, It's easy to check. You just have to go to the village and see, were they armed at all? Because intelligence, the police forces got the best intelligence in the entire world. Super intelligence. Our police forces, in that sense, in terms of collecting evidence, the best in the world. Possibly next to Israel, but the best in the world. So that happened, and then the recent incident happened in Chhattisgarh, which is 24 and 25. And here I learned what we learned from Soni Sori, whom I must commend to you all as one of the very fine tribal activists in this country. I don't have a meter by which to assess. I don't have a gauge by which to access. I only know that if there is a killing and the leader turns up after walking for miles in an area where the killing has happened and talks to the women and consoles them, that is good enough for me to say, this is a leader. If the leader is absent and doesn't come and doesn't bother or comes after a week, 10 days, I have a different assessment. She's always there. She always goes. What can she do? Can she help? Not really. But she stands with them and listens to the women weeping, talks to them, consoles their families, and she's there. So I work with her. And what we did was, when we knew Amit Shah was coming, and Amit Shah, as you know, is used to boasting about 800 killed, my target is 1,000, I'll kill. My God. He's a clever man. He's a very good politician, Amit Shah, by the way. And also Mr. Modi. Top of the line politicians. Very good understanding of India, caste, winning elections and all that. So in that sense, he's won election after election. So in that sense, as a normal citizen of India, we have some respect. The man is winning elections, for God's sake. So we called a People's Tribunal 2 days earlier. He was coming on a date, and 2 days earlier we called 100 tribal women, Adivasi women. And they came, and we got the journalists to stand, and we took a video of their testimonies. 120. And it was such an incredible sight just to listen to the Adivasi tell you their story. That's all. Because they are truthful people, never lie. Take it as 100%. They never lie. They tell you the truth. Came with their babies in their hands. We had a camera like that. And each one of them, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. They don't talk a lot. They're not used to like middle class people talking and talking and talking. They tell you this. And each one of them recounted how innocent people, without any weapons, and talking openly, they're not afraid. They're not hiding their face. They're showing their face on camera. They're giving their names and the village and their fathers' names and the people who died. And they gave that evidence. So after Mr. Amit Shah did his conference saying that I've killed so many Naxalites, so we also held a press conference and we said, Amit Shah ji, maybe you are right. Maybe you have killed so many Naxalites. We don't know, because our connection is not with Naxalites. Might be accidentally, somebody might be a Naxalite. We don't know. They don't go around with a band on the head. I'm a Naxalite. We don't know, but we keep the company of people who are not Naxalites. As far as Naxalites is concerned, our stand is, they are shooting at you, you are shooting at them, we are not getting involved. We can't do anything. So we said, Mr. Amit Shah, tell us, sir. We've got this list of 120 women, and their testimony is about 140 people killed. You tell us, sir, we are giving you the list. Which person, कौन है Naxalite इस list में? तुझे मालूम है? You are giving us exact figures कि इतने 800 लोगों को जान से मारा in self-defense. तो ठीक है, we are giving you our list. Tell us, sir. Tell us. And no answer. State has no answer. Because civil society has lost the capacity and the strength and the stamina to take up these issues. So that was the case in Chhattisgarh. In Jharkhand, we're doing a case in the Supreme Court recently, where the Jharkhand government, including the present Chief Minister, who's by all reports a good man, Hemant Soren, but contracts have been given to private parties to do mining in scheduled areas. Now that was like a big sin, a legal sin. Scheduled areas में कोई private party को इजाज़त देना कि तुम जाके mining करो, that is contrary to so many judgments of Supreme Court. No mining by non-tribals in scheduled areas. Government can do, but not a private contractor. And they've given contracts galore. This is now 24. So 23, 24, the case is in court. Giving contracts to... These are the elements of the war that I started by saying there is a full-fledged war in the tribal districts, which the government is going to win. Take it. They are going to win. And then what will be the scenario once the government wins and the tribal opposition is killed? What will happen? And the judges are sitting quiet. What will happen? That was Jharkhand. Odisha, again, we have a fine judgment of the Supreme Court in the Niyamgiri case. Fine judgment. That in scheduled areas, you must go by PESA. PESA is the extension of into Scheduled Areas Act. Panchayat extension into schedule, which means, basically, in short, the Gram Sabha is supreme. You can't just come, government can't just come and say, okay, I'm going to start a steel plant, that was, I think, a Korean plant, POSCO, trying to come into Odisha and start alumina, I think it was, bauxite, alumina, something like that. Steel plant, yes. Vedanta, that's right. And brilliant judgment of the Supreme Court. Brilliant. The scheduled areas are meant to be kept safe for the tribals. No transfer of land between tribal and non-tribal. All land transfers to be for the benefit of the tribals. All decisions to be taken by the Gram Sabha. Not by the state government, by the Gram Sabha. And after that judgment is delivered, the government has forgotten that. The Gram Sabha is supreme. When you regulate land, you have to regulate it in favor of the tribals and cannot be reversed by the state government. According to the law, even the chief minister has no business telling the Gram Sabha. Ijazat do. No. We don't agree. We don't agree. We reject. Gram Sabha will say. Chief Minister has no power to overturn that because it is the duty of the Gram Sabha to protect the land of the tribals, protect the tribal people, and the land and the language uses to stop infiltration into tribal areas by non-tribals. What more beautiful language. The law is actually, in that sense, and the constitution is quite a stunning constitution. Practice is something else. Government is something else. But the purity of the language and the purity of the judgment is something to be seen. And in the Jharkhand case, we saw that they were taking over rivers, whole rivers they were taking over, giving contracts. Because when you do mining, I don't know what the connection will be, but they take over the rivers and they cut the trees. And a particular industrialist who has a habit of coming in our newspapers very close to the government. Can't say his name, otherwise he'll file a defamation suit against me. He was reputed to be person benefiting from the mining leases given in Jharkhand. Now we come to, of course, the Samatha Judgment is something that all of you, most of you will know, those who... Same thing really. Prohibition of transfer of land from tribals to non-tribals. The empowerment of tribals. Now, Samatha Judgment as it is brilliant. But in Jharkhand today, the transfer of land from tribals to non-tribals is amazing. Amazing. First, the tribals will transfer it to a housing cooperative society. Then the housing cooperative society will give it over to the non-tribal. 101 ways of taking the land of tribals. And the sense that some of my friends have, and my colleagues sitting here today will have a better sense. The transfer of land from tribals to non-tribals is accelerating at a very high pace. Nobody comes in the way. Government ignore the Supreme Court. They do what they want and nobody interferes. So tribals will lose a big chunk of their land in a very short time. Now Manipur, I want to say a few words about Manipur. 2022 February, the attacks began by the dominant community on the Kukis, the dominant community on the plains. I won't mention the name because sometimes all kinds of controversy, and the Kukis, of course, I'll mention, are in the hills. And all of a sudden the attacks began. I was involved actually quite from the beginning stage, and I visited Manipur many times. And the attacks began with such ferocity that within the first year itself they had burnt 100, 200 villages, 100, 200 churches, all that kind of thing, completely gone. Ferocity of the attack. And you wonder why, because the Indian army is stationed in Imphal all the time, sensitive area. So Indian army had its battalions there, ready to fight. And you must remember, in all riot situations, Gujarat also same. Army was there, ready in Gujarat. Bombay riots, army was there outside the areas of the riot. Then, why was the order not given by the Chief Minister, the Home Minister, for the army to get in at once and stop the rioting? Why? Because the culprit, the chief culprit, will be the Chief Minister and the Home Minister. They allow, let it happen. I'm not allowing you to go and intervene. You will not move out of your barracks until I say so. And I'm not going to say so. So simple, Manipur. Within a day, if the army commander was given permission, go and do whatever you want, stop them. 2 days, Manipur riots. 3 days, Manipur riots was stopped. I pleaded with the Chief Justice Chandrachud. Pleaded and pleaded and pleaded. I said, sir, please call out the army. It will stop now. I asked you 1 month ago, you didn't do it. In this 1 month, so many 100 people have been killed. I'm asking you again, please call out the army right away. And Dr. Chandrachud told me, Mr. Gonsalves, in 50 years, we have never called out the army. We are not going to do it now. He scolded me. I said, sir, that is the only way to stop. Your policemen are all of the dominant communities, they are participating in riots. Bombay riots, they participated in the riots. And the Sri Krishna Committee in its report says, these are the 20-25 officers who helped the majority community kill the Muslims. In this report it says. You can never have a riot. You can never have a riot if the police stand firm or the army stand. Not possible. They're cowards basically. Rioters are cowards. Only because they know that the police is supporting them, only because of that they show their bravado, isn't it? And I remember Deputy Commissioner of Police at Bombay telling me, Colin, you know, I was in a crowd. They were encircling the Muslims. I had four policemen with me. I told them all, take out your pistols. Take out your revolvers. I took out mine. And I pointed it at the leader in the crowd and I said, you disperse in 5 minutes or I'll shoot you dead. He told me, this is how he said, what every police officer should do. But we didn't get orders to open fire. I decided nonetheless that I will not allow it to happen in front of my eyes. And they dispersed, they ran like cowards. Rioters are not people of any mettle or any courage or any strength. They only have the strength of state support behind them. So I said, sir, your policemen are all part of the riot. I was scolded for that, for making these kind of statements. And I said that the Chief Minister of Manipur, Mr. Biren Singh, is fully on the supply of on the side of the assailants. Now, if you have a chief minister on the side of the killers, who will stop them? How can the rioting be stopped in this area? But the cookies are a different tribe. The cookies are a different tribe altogether. And that is what the government doesn't know how to handle. The cookies are fighters. The cookies are fighters. And our democracy teaches us this. Our government teaches us this. Don't go by democracy. Don't go by any representation to anybody. निवेदन करना, प्रार्थना करना, ना. तुम्हारे ऊपर कोई हमला करेगा ना, तुम करो, अपना करो. सबक सिखाओ उनको. This is what the government teaches us. The government should teach us, you be quiet, mister. I am sending the police, I am sending the army, I am going to stop them. Give me 2 days, I'll stop them. That's what the government should teach them. The chief minister, the home minister should teach the rule of law. So now the tribals have learned. There's no rule of law in Manipur. There's no rule of law in India. If a riot is going to happen, it's going to happen. Chalo. We know how to fight. We are fighters. We've been fighting from British Zamana. We've been fighting. They've been really fighting from British period. And they have courage and they have tenacity. And I don't like the idea that somebody should have to fight to defend themselves when the police force is there. Why should they do? I don't like the idea of violence at all. But they're not going to listen to their pacifist lawyer now. अरे ये Gonsalves साहब ये non-violence की बात करते हैं. क्या फ़ायदा है? No point. Forget him. Let's go. So they fought. And they fought valiantly and they stopped them in their tracks and they stopped the killing in Manipur in their tracks. And that's the stalemate that has happened. No justice at all. Supreme Court is discredited completely. Government, of course, is not bothered. And going on in the same way as before. I'll just end now. There's another case in the Supreme Court where the Wildlife Society of India, or Wildlife Something Trust, represented by very eminent lawyers, filed a case for the eviction of tribals. Now see what's happening in the country. When I say there's a genocide about to happen, is about to happen. It's already happened in part, the remaining part is there. Proudly went to court, boldly argued. And what did they argue, sir? Look at the FRA results, Forest Rights Act. Under the Forest Rights Act, there's a certain right, entitlement to a tribal and a non-tribal forest dweller to get an individual plot of land and to get community land so that they can settle in the forest as of right. They can't cut the trees and all that, but they have access to minor forest produce and so on. Now the Forest Rights Act has not been implemented. You're supposed to make applications, government is supposed to respond proactively, then measure the land and see what land you have and give you land of equal proportion. Not done. And the rejection of claims. So government claims, so many thousands of claims are rejected. So they came to court. So this is the result of FRA, the FRA inquiry, Forest Rights Act. So many thousand rejections means they are encroachers. It doesn't mean at all. First of all, you don't go to the land. Second of all, you pass an order. Then you pass the order and keep it on your file. You don't serve it on the parties. You just keep it for some record. And you do it against the tribal's will. Because the forest department is a kind of a very jealous possession of the forest. Because the forest is like a pot of gold. The value of timber, the value of the produce and so on. So they went to court. Look at how flimsy our democracy is. They came, they argued, they got the order on the spot. First day they got the order. These environmental groups. See, there are some who are genuine, environmental groups who are genuine, and there are some who feel that environment for the rich, environment not for the poor, not for the tribals. The tribals are destructive of the forest, they should be thrown out. That's the thinking among some groups. Anyway, can you imagine Supreme Court granted an order immediately? Remove all encroachers. And encroachers means all those whose claims for property, pattas and all that, has been rejected. And then to the credit of many of the tribal organizations, they responded immediately, filed a reply and said, sir, they're not encroachers. They're genuine tribals and non-forest dwellers. Please stay your order and hear the matter properly. So they got saved. And that matter is also pending in the Supreme Court. So these are the multi-challenges against them. The FRA implementation, which as many years have passed, which should have been 100%, is now 7%, 10% in different states, 20% with luck, 25%, which means that the entire Forest Rights Act distribution of land to tribals and non-forest tribal dwellers in the forest areas is at a total standstill, sabotaged by the Forest Department. They are the Rajas of the forest. They can't have it that a lowly tribal will question them and get a right in the forest. What do you do like this? What is the point of democracy? The tribals may say, what is the point of non-violence? I believe in non-violence. But what is the point if nothing can be achieved except through violence, which is what the state is teaching us? And we should never go by the violence route at all, never. But the feeling of burning anger in the hearts of tribals is unbearable. And I have said in some circumstances, I'm not so sure if I should say it here also, that there's a right to self-defense in the country when someone comes to take your land and tries to kill you. You have a right to defend yourself to the point of causing death. Proportionate it must be. The person must have a weapon, the person must be on the point of killing you. You can defend yourself. Forget death. But at least you can defend yourself. So when you come collectively with all these mining companies, armies, into these areas to grab the lands of the tribals, they have no right to defend themselves. You'll call them an urban Naxal or a rural Naxal or something. I don't understand. Okay, the last few things I just wanted to say. So people like Soni Sori in Chhattisgarh and many of our fighters in different parts, and Anand and Tumble, who was, I think, part of this organization's staff at some time, wonderful man and a good fighter for justice. Sudha Bharadwaj. These are our, in the Adivasi areas, these are our freedom fighters, the new freedom fighters of the new India that will come into place maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. This fake democracy, this illusion of democracy, we'll have a real democracy where the people of India will rule. Sudha, caught for what? We've known her for such a long time, working in the areas of Chhattisgarh, quietly doing legal aid, hardly taking any money for her work, day in and day out, cases. Put in jail for 5 years. Why? Why? Because of a letter. A letter not written by her. A letter not signed by her. A letter not found in her possession. A letter not found in her home or on her computer. There's a letter written by some third party who says that Sudha is going to do this or Sudha is, doing that. Can you put a person in jail based on this kind of hearsay evidence? Can anyone be put in jail? But Sudha spent 5 years. And a lawyer managed to get her out and she's out. But it'll break the resoluteness of anybody in this country to be put in like this. A letter of this nature. Or even like Binayak Sen. Same thing, a letter. He was treating a prisoner and some letter went from there to somebody. So this is the letter that he gave. Is terrorism meant to be used? I'll end now. I'm sorry, I've gone over. Is terrorism law meant to be used like this? Look at all our friends, Khalid, whatever, the whole gang. Is there a single one accused of using violence? Is there a single person with a bomb? Is there a single person with a gun, an AK-47, a spear, a knife, a penknife? No. No. And what is terrorism in Nalini's case, which is the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case? The Supreme Court said, Justice Thomas said, terrorism is an attempt to overawe the state. The Tamil militants who killed Rajiv Gandhi, Justice Thomas wrote in his judgment, the Tamil militants had dushmani with Rajiv Gandhi. क्यों दुश्मनी? क्योंकि राजीव गांधी ने इंडियन सेना को उधर भेज दिया. And that caused havoc. They had personal animosity with him. And because they had personal animosity only, they did not have any dushmani with the Indian government. They were not trying to overthrow the state. They just wanted to kill one man. See the reasoning of the Supreme Court. There was no attempt to overawe the state. No attempt. What a brilliant judgment. What a brilliant judgment. You killed the former Prime Minister of India. But the persons who killed you did not have any dushmani with the citizens and people of India or the government of India. So they acquitted them on the terror charge and convicted them on the murder charge, for which they were in jail for life sentence. And now they are released. So what happens to Khalid? Khalid made the order of the High Court says he used provocative language. For God's sake. In India, we Indians are provocative all the time. Gaaliyan dete hai, ye karta hai, wo karta. We speak colorful language. And the judge is not saying. What colorful language did he use? Did he say, you killed somebody? No. Did he say you attacked somebody? No. Khalid is talking Khalid is like a philosopher. He's talking in terms of social change in the country and a revolution in our thinking and thoughts to make India a better India. He's like a philosopher. He's a deeply learned man. Provocative language क्या use किया sir? जब राजीव गांधी का assassins को Rajiv Gandhi was killed, 9 people standing with him were killed. They were held to be non-terrorists. And you are telling me Khalid is a thing? Or Anand Tentuble is a terrorist? Some letters were found here and there, so that's all. So my dear friend, we are moving into full-fledged war. And I'm glad you did the meeting today. It's a good meeting to do because I think we are losing this war. We are totally losing this war. And if they wipe out, I suppose, whatever resistance there is to killings like this, then the tribal areas are finished. The forests are gone. The rivers will be taken. The people will be finished off completely. And India's future is so bleak. And the government thinks only in one sense. I'll end with this. How much GDP can we get? If we get all these forests where these people are staying, get all these forests under the control of the central government and the army and the police. You know how much GDP will go up by? Many points. They're only thinking in terms GDP. ये सारे timber जो है वगैरह वगैरह, what is the cost? All these rivers and water, what is the cost? You take control of all this land, what is the victory for the Indian economy? They are thinking like that. Our government thinks like that, GDP. So our civilization is at stake, not just the tribal economy or the tribal. Our civilization is at stake. This is the darkest time for India. And this government that talks about Indira Gandhi's emergency, क्योंकि anniversary आ गया था, तो बोलने लगा Indira, I see, she was a tyrant, she was dictator, she was this, we must always fight against dictatorship. You are there with emergency number 2, which is 10 times worse than emergency number 1. 10 times worse. But the country is quietly going into this emergency period and this period of darknesses and the rule by the Rakshasas in India. What will happen to India? I don't know. Will we survive? I don't know. But I have a favorite phrase which I want to end and use it. The phrase that Jayaprakash Narayan used against Indira Gandhi when he mobilized the people against the tyrannical rule of Indira Gandhi. He used the term Sampurna Kranti, total revolution. I think maybe, and Jayaprakash Narayan obviously meant it in a non-violent way. He was a man of non-violence. But he stirred the conscience of people by saying Sampurna Kranti. And India needs that, a complete revolution. Non-violent, but complete revolution. Our values must change. Our morality must change. Everything has been corrupted by governments in the past. Everything. How we deal with our fellow colleagues, how we deal with people of another community, the hate speech that we do, the divide and rule that the British government used to do against Indians, we do against our own Indians. That is what we have to stop. It is really a Sampurna Kranti, not just a victory of an election. It is a victory of the soul and the goodness of India against these dark, dark people. Thank you very much.
Now we open the floor for questions from the audience. Yes, there is there. And there is a mic to be given.
I have one question. I'm speaking on behalf of the indigenous people in Goa from the Kumdads, Gaunkars. Now we have our lands here, 90% of the lands belong to the commune, Kumdads. And I have a letter written, whatever problems we have to go to the courts. And the courts must have revenue lands for them to function. And this is what the collector gave me. Copy of the notification issued by the central government declaring Goa as a revenue district. He says no, not there. Copy of the notification issued by the central government creating the post of the collector for Goa district, not there. Provide me copy of the statute for landing of Goa, a record bar document where the land of Goa is vested into the central government of Goa, not there. So if you didn't have the revenue lands here, how are you functioning here? Even the courts, the high court, whatever these institutions are, harem of corruption. The Chief Justice Kajju has recently released a video and he said Prashant Bhushan gave an affidavit. Out of 10 judges, 7 judges are corrupt, and the court has not taken action, nor the law minister has taken action up to now. What is happening? Common men like us have to go to the court. And we are just spectators. They are discussing things and hatching conspiracy. And what is happening for the common man? He just has to flesh out money. And years together it takes. It took me to realize a check. 16 years, a check is what? 2 sentences, 1 date and 1 signature. Which you go to the bank, it is realized within 15 minutes. But if you go to the courts, it takes you 17 years. So why do we have these courts? You close them down. If they are not working, you close them down. Why have these institutions here? C means corruption, Supreme Court means supreme corruption, High Court means high corruption. Why do you have these institutions here? No, we are the ones who are suffering. No? We have suffered enough. And talking about this land revenue code, we are the indigenous people. You are taking our land for 40 paise. No, I have not completed my point. You are transferring our land, government of Goa is transferring our land from one person to another by 40 paise. Is this not a criminal offense? If the revenue is not created by you.
I think you have made your point now. Colin will
I don't know really, so I'm not going to respond because I don't know.
No, what I
But,
mean to
I
say. So
think
we
the
have
point
been
should
told,
be-
Goa
Yeah,
was liberated. If we were liberated, the liberated people would be in governance. So how the Indian government, without creating a revenue district, is controlling over our land? No, these are few pertinent questions we are asking. This is the future of
No, all
democracy
your
in Goa.
questions are very pertinent. You have made your point. So let others also ask questions.
Yeah, can you have some answers of this, what I said? Can I have some answers to this?
You'll need to ask anybody in the audience. I don't know.
Yeah,
really.
anybody can take up this issue of mine.
We deal with them.
Because we really don't have that kind of knowledge.
No.
The legal issues
Sir,
cannot be
what I'm
answered
saying
just
is
like this.
Goa was liberated in the year 67. Independence of India took place in the year 47. We were not part of the constitution, nor were we consulted when the constitution was drafted. Every time you go to the court, they talk about the constitution. Which constitution are you talking about? Are those eminent lawyers talking about when we were not part of this constitution that was drafted? Who they did consult us? They are saying, the government of India is saying we have been liberated. But
I understand the question.
no, this is pertinent
Very well,
question,
but-
pertaining to the foundation of this courts. They are saying,
there are-
we are liberated. But government of Goa in various judgments says we are annexed, we are conquered. Whom did you conquer? Did you conquer us?
So there are many issues which you have raised. I can see at least two of them. One is the delays in courts, even in the Indian court or anywhere. That's a very important point. The other is the specific situation of land and the, whose governance works in Goa. Now, that's a protracted issue. I think we should have a discussion on that altogether where people who are knowledgeable about that can come forward and discuss it. Okay? Because when the takeover happened, what happens to the comunidades, what happens to the common property, these are all typically Goan institutions which were there. These have not been addressed properly. Okay?
Yeah, United Nations has made this
One second,
remark.
let's not continue the
No,
debate.
this is
There are
above the
other-
law.
Yeah.
United Nations has said India has signed the treaties
I
of
understand the issue.
non-aggression. Having signed the treaties, they attack Goa. That is okay. Having attacked Goa,
Sorry,
you
just
remain
can
in
we- can you
possession
take your
of
seat,
illegal
please?
possession of Goa.
We need to go further onto the topic of the day, which is on human rights and the nature of the recent decisions by the court. Okay?
Yes, whatever you have said
so-
is right. But where do you go to the courts?
No,
Can
one
the
sec,
court
this is
function
not
without
the
revenue
court,
lands?
okay? Can you please take your seat
Please,
so that other questions
we
can
move
come?
forward.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry. I mean, I apologize on behalf of everybody. Okay.
I have a response to Colin Gonsalves. This is with regard to you spoke a lot about peace and peaceful actions and non-violent actions and also reality of violence in the country, violence and counter-violence and so on. I just want to draw your attention to an incident that happened in Jharkhand a decade back, not within the 7 years, but much before that, wherein the newspaper, one of the Hindi newspapers, published a news item, the collector, district collector, one district in Jharkhand, distributing arms to the Naxalites, and that was a celebration, and it was published in the newspapers. At that time at the center, Congress government was ruling, and P. Chidambaram was the home minister of the country. Journalists questioned him that time. He says, how is that Indian IAS officers are distributing arms to Naxalites? The response of the Indian Home Minister was very interesting. He said, if government of India does not give them the arms, government of China will give. So my question is, when we talk about peace, what is the political economy of violence that's taking place? Who is supplying arms to the militant groups in the country? And if we don't understand this, then we will go on like pitch one brother against another and proliferate split of violence and bloodshed. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll take a few more questions and then I think Colin can
yes.
address. Yeah.
Next question. Anybody else?
Yeah.
You can.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please. Hello, give the mic to her.
Dr. Collins talk about that Supreme Court judges are, the selection of Supreme Court judges is not at par. So there has been selection of people who are kind of maybe like government, more biased towards government. So what do you think can be a solution to this problem of selection of judges? Because Supreme Court judges are selected by a consortium of Supreme Court judges themselves, and it's just the assent given by the president. So how do you think this problem can be resolved, or is there anything that can be done on the policy making which can resolve this problem?
Okay, so any other
yes.
question? Yeah.
So we live in current times where we've seen an increasing amount of political polarization, the consolidation of narratives around majoritarianism. In this context, we also see the closing of civic spaces, dissent being shut down, and quote-unquote institutional check balances being questioned and not in place in a lot of instances. I have two questions to you, sir. In this context, what do you see as the future of human rights advocacy and civil society engagement in India? And what role can public interest litigation continue to play to uphold constitutional values?
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
Sudipto here.
Professor Sudipto Mandal, yes.
Thank you. Colin, you mentioned these examples of, the army not being called out during, the beginning of in Manipur, and you gave other examples, including Bombay. But you also talked about this policeman friend of yours who, in a situation. Now, I have been told by a very empathetic and very eminent civil servant and so on that actually, according to law, a local police officer, and certainly the collector, doesn't really need permission of high authorities like Home Minister, Chief. They can, under the law, they are entitled to take full action. So I just wanted to get your clarity on the legal position on this, and why people have to wait for chief ministers and so forth.
I'll answer this straight away, actually.
Yes, please.
Okay, this is one question I can answer. You see, you're right. The policeman doesn't have to wait at all. He's authorized when he sees a crime committed, he can act immediately. But the chief minister gives instructions to the DGP. When I tell you to, until I tell you to intervene to stop the riots, don't do a thing. So then you have a clear-cut command, which the DGP should disobey and say, sir, I can't do this. If there's killing, I'm going to order them to take the action according to law. But when they give a clear command, like Biren Singh closed down the army from Kam, the army officers would say to people, sir, we are ready. Our forces are just a few kilometers away from the trouble zone. We are ready to go. In the Kandamal riots, very interesting thing happened. In the Kandamal riots, we moved Justice Balakrishnan, Chief Justice. So the riots are happening. The police is on the side of the rioters. This is on, right? Yeah. Police is on the side of the rioters. So please call out the army. Chandrachud was wrong when he said it's never been done. I requested the sir, please call out the rioters. Balakrishnan took it at 10 o'clock, Chief Justice Balakrishnan. Keep it at 2 o'clock. Ask the Solicitor General, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, to be present in court with instructions. And Gopal Subramaniam was a giant of a man. Totally different from anybody else like we see today. He came to court. Justice Balakrishnan said, Gopal, what do you have to say? He said, as of now, the paratroopers are in the air. And he got them to Odisha. Easy, in a day's time, 2 days' time. You're right, sir, nobody has to take permission, do your duty. But when you get a clear order not to step out of your barracks, then it is hard to do.
Yeah, so the other question was
Others I can't answer.
potential of PIL to protect human
No,
rights.
well, PIL protection now, that's why I started saying it has to be organizing, struggle, resistance, and law wherever it works. There are some very fine judges in the system, very fine judges. So I don't want to be misunderstood to mean that there's nobody, everybody's bad. No, very fine judges. But now their numbers are decreasing, and the proportion to the other guys is becoming very tenuous. So PIL's importance has already gone down since I began practicing, and today I would say when it was practicing, it was at 70% level. Today it must be 20% level. To that extent it's gone down. But the struggle part is very important. The resistance, the unity of the forces, our forces. That's the most important thing. We must teach young people, young activists, learn to act on your own to uphold the law. Take the law into your own hands to uphold the law, not to break the law. Take it into your own hands. Don't wait. Somebody is not there. Don't bother. Get involved collectively to uphold the law.
There was one question on the Supreme
Good evening,
Court
Dr.
judges
Hello.
that-
Appointment of judges. Something on appointment.
Appointment of judges.
that
See, it's too far gone. It's too far gone.
it's no longer fair.
And I tell you, when you have a strong executive like Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah, you see, it's easy to criticize them. But their use of politics is exemplary. They were not like earlier governments. They know how to use the legal system thoroughly, in a wrong way, but they use it. Now, how can this collegium is not able to stand up? When the Chief Justice is not able to stand up, how do we expect other judges to stand up? And when the government says, I'll not appoint these people that you are suggesting, you're supposed to obey immediately. When the collegium says, appoint A, B, C, D, you're supposed to do it immediately. The government says, nothing doing. I'm not going to do them. I don't like them. I think they have a bad record. Finish?
Yes, please.
Good evening, if I may interrupt, just one question. There was a thought revolving in my mind. Thank you for the wonderful session that we had today. Dudra, I was wondering, when we celebrate a ginormous document like the Constitution, the thought that comes to my mind is not all voices that are protected as of this date under the Constitution by giving them rights might have found representation in the Constitution at that time. For example, let's talk about the tribals. And I try to reconcile that with something that I know of this gigantic man, Dr. Ambedkar, who perhaps did not have a well-celebrated opinion about the tribals. So how do we reconcile that? And
I don't know. I don't know if Ambedkar did not have a well-celebrated opinion about the tribal. I don't know. You may be right, wrong, but I don't know. I think in Ambedkar, we got the best person to draft the constitution. But I also think, now Nepal has gone through a new constitution, and the Nepal constitution takes into consideration the minority is now better than our constitution. So you might have a point that there are communities still not properly addressed. Their grievances are not properly addressed. It's possible, because our constitution also, as compared to Nepal, is an older constitution. You might have a point there, but I don't think it is to do with Dr. Ambedkar.
What I believe Dr. Ambedkar thought was that perhaps their right of franchise should be deferred.
No, I don't think.
No.
No, I don't. That would be.
Can I?
Yeah, so just one second.
Actually, Colin,
Yeah.
I think the answer there is that the fifth schedule is a constitution within a constitution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Samatha Judgment was fought on that basis
Yeah.
of the fifth schedule. And I mean, I don't know your name, sir, but Advocate Ji, the constitution is very strong on the tribal rights as part.
Yeah, let me
They want to
raise
say about the judgment. Let them say that. These are the people who know about it.
That he fought for 40 years for that judgment. Ravi.
Of course.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, let me
Just,
ask a
just.
question.
I will come back.
We'll come
I'll-
back. Yeah, so my point is, how long can we keep saying that people of character are no longer there and therefore there is a decline? My sense is that the decline and the, what shall I say, the deterioration was written into the way things were. See, if no democracy can exist without operational autonomy of the police. Now, the one thing that is woefully missing in India is the operational autonomy of the police. And at least 2 police committee reports, including the last one, the Ribeiro committee, argued for this. So if you really trace all ills in the judicial system, not most of the ills, it is because the police are unable to function properly. So essentially, it's ex ante true that if the police don't have operational autonomy, then the political authority, then the authority can treat the police like a private army. So the police will commit crime on my behalf if I am the chief minister, if I want to do it. Okay? So that's written in the fact that there is no operational autonomy. So my question is not why the police fails. That is not the question that researchers should ask. But why at all are they even fair to the extent that they are? Because the way things are designed, it's a design error. This is what should happen. The Modi government has, what's the difference between the Modi government and the earlier government? The earlier government kind of said, okay, we have these provisions, we can use the police as a private army. Once in a way they used it, but their own magnanimity or whatever, their own limits, personal limits, put a limit to how much they would use the police in this way. But the Modi government and Amit Shah has no shame. Why shouldn't they when it's actually permitted? So similarly, I asked this question, the Election Commission is a celebrated institution, as if it's designed to be independent. The reality, if you read the acts related to the people's representation, it's all very fine. But the organization that the ECI has to depend upon is entirely government. It does not have its own organization.
Also paid by the government.
Exactly. So organization theory would tell us that this is bound to fail. Okay. So why is it that people in India are so naive about design and organizations? And I find this naivety right from the top to the bottom.
And okism.
Wherever I have discussed this, they will always personalize it and say, okay, we had great judges, we had great lawyers, we had great IAS officers, and so on and so forth.
We have a great constitution.
Constitutionalists and so on. So the constitution is a document out there. To operationalize it, there are second order institutions like government, and those are not autonomous. The public sector is not autonomous. So you have BJP members on the board of ECIL and which actually produces the voting machine. So why wouldn't they doctor it is my question. So you get the drift of what I'm saying, that actually there are design errors which need to be highlighted and brought to the as agenda to the press, rather than individual blame. So what is your take on this?
Can you please react to what Professor?
No, it's I
have
no problem.
Disagree or
No. Therefore, so my point is the agenda then changes. The agenda changes to bringing, highlighting these independents.
I think.
There are some others also.
Some others. Also.
There is another question.
According to what Mr. Samastan was telling about this constitution and elections, it is believed, that there are foreign governments, Israeli governments, who are interfering in this election process, and they are fixing. And there is allegation made that they have brought in lot of governments, they overthrew also governments, and the thing came about this, when they have a veto at the United Nations about the human rights in Gaza, India was with them. And in fact, Netanyahu said that, Indian government will be with them, with the armies to go into Gaza to help them out. Their relationship with them is so good that now and then they are getting elected by manipulating these voting machines. And they have got also judgments in their favor that voting machines are flawless. They have got the judgment. This is the problem with them.
Okay.
So another question I wanted to ask you, before Chandrachud regained office, he said, that there are a lot of private lands all over India, and the Constitution of India do not have jurisdiction over these private lands. So is this a fact? So we are also in Goa.
Question well taken. Any other question?
Any another gentleman
Private-
was asked, kind of, yes, please.
I don't have any questions for him. I just have information of Colin's association with Goa,
Achha.
which goes back some 45 years, okay? Where he has played a role in saving the lives and jobs of 38 employees that were suspended in Goa shipyard. That's the time, including me, that was the time I came in contact with Colin. So that is his association. Yeah, and he has not changed from then to now. But if you all have all finished,
Not yet.
I would request you all to finish, because we have come with a special purpose, whereas a dozen of us
You will get time.
to meet him, to take up the issue that this gentleman
No.
also has raised, which he will not understand.
Okay.
So if...
You will get time after the event.
No, he's leaving. He told me he's flying back.
No, it's
So
enough
before
time.
that, I need to
I
talk to
ensure
him.
that
okay?
you will be having time
And
individually.
I want to
with-
thank Jim for inviting him, because today, if he's here, it's a big blessing for us.
Okay.
We really needed him. We were discussing about him, and we found him here today. And thank you for bringing a very good personality, a real human rights fighter for India.
Nandini, you have a question? Achha, okay.
Yeah, hi. I actually come from the technical domain and I don't know anything about law. So when this gentleman spoke, it kind of felt like I've read the whole Bible and then I'm asking who Jesus Christ is. Okay, so I know that we are not come from a Goan perspective, but from an India perspective, right, at least for this conversation. So what are a few things that you would suggest theoretically, at least a way forward in this kind of murky situation that we are, right? So can we talk about some next steps that at least we could start conversations on within the public and maybe within the law community or something on those
Maybe
lines?
like he is asking for, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's my
It's like
basis.
so. And Nandini, yes. Oh, there is another.
So my question to you is, if at all we want to do delimitation in Goa, whatever, we have to reduce the number of constituencies or increase whatever. Whom should we write? Should we write to the Election Commissioner of India, and whom does ECI report to?
Report to
Whom
the
does Chief Election
President.
Commissioner report to?
President. President.
He's ostensibly an independent entity. In a democracy, you do need non-political authorities and institutionalize their power, because everything cannot be populist.
Okay. Nandini?
Dr. Colin, you were discussing about mining in Goa, mining in Jharkhand, and a few days back, Jharkhand government has also launched mining tourism, which is going to bring in tourists to the mining sites. This is regarding few years back, few sacred sites of the Adivasis was turned into a mining site. So I started an organization called Adivasi Geotags that's actually digitizing the sacred sites of the Adivasis. Do you think this digitalization can help Adivasis legally?
Very much.
Okay.
Very much. Because you're doing something that nobody else is doing. So
Yes.
very important to do.
So I have like you were talking about genocide and ethnic cleansing. So when Chidambaram was the Home Minister, he was very widely quoted in media that he told at that time that Naxalites are our biggest enemies of our country. So I don't remember the year, it would be around 2009-10, that during that period, he kind of made this statement that Naxalites are our biggest enemies of our country. So like, is it a continuation of the same mindset that we are having, that Naxalites are our fellow countrymen, whoever, like whether it called, I don't know how you define Naxalite or who is a Naxal, I don't know. But the issue is that they are our fellow countrymen. How you can call them enemies as such? And if you see that like I'm not questioning the constitution, but thing is that there are huge majority of people in India, they did not benefit in anything socially or economically even after 75 years of our independence. So the question is not whether constitution is right or wrong, but they did not get those benefits. They are marginalized. So in that sense, how in that perspective the mindset of the government and what is being done today even.
See, you can ask the answer to this if you ask a tribal. Who is your enemy, this mining company of Mr. J, or this mining company of Mr. A, or this mining company of Mr. B? Ask any Adivasi, तुम्हारा दुश्मन कौन है? ये नक्सलाइट है या ये पूंजपति है? Simple question. They will give you one answer. Tens of thousands will give you one answer. That's the answer. The people of India are telling you who their enemy is. And who is Mr. Chidambaram to say this? He's the maker of our UAPA, no? He's the maker of our terrorism law. You brought it into existence. And you are telling us that these Naxalites are the enemies of the people. Mr. Chidambaram, you are the enemy of the people, for God's sake. If you ask the tribal, they'll tell you. Why don't we ask ordinary people, solid people who don't lie, who don't cheat, who don't exploit? Ask them who is your dushman. किसको निकालना है फॉरेस्ट एरिया से? They'll tell you. ये सारे माइनिंग कंपनी को निकाल दो सर, हमको और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. हमको रास्ता मत देना, स्कूल मत देना, अस्पताल मत देना, लेकिन तुम निकलो यहाँ से. हमें कुछ नहीं चाहिए सरकार से, हमें सरकार की ज़रूरत नहीं है. तुम जाओ, कुछ मत देना हमें, पैसा मत देना, रोड मत देना, कुछ मत देना, लेकिन तुम निकलो, ये जगह हमारे लिए रखो. साफ जवाब देगा. Why can't we understand such simple logic? We don't want you to give us mining company, then we'll give you rehab. We don't want your rehab. Mining companies say we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you this. We don't want. This is ours today. ये हमारा हक है आज, ये हमारा संपत्ति है आज, सालों से है. और आज तुम कौन हो हमारे एरिया में आना और कह इधर हम तुमको स्कूल देगा, ये देगा? हमें नहीं चाहिए, कुछ नहीं चाहिए. तुम यहाँ से हटो, बस. सिंपल आंसर. तुम हमारा दुश्मन है, तुम जाओ यहाँ से.
Like what plantation employers did in Assam and West Bengal to the tea plantation workers, 99% of them are tribal. They have got forcibly migrated from Chhattisgarh, that Chotanagpur plateau to, like there's laws made so that they can't come back to their own land. So now they are in those states, they are treated as second-class citizens. They get a wage below minimum wages, and it is part of an organized sector industry, and entire prosperity of tea industry is based on the backwardness of those areas, and a monoculture is been perpetuated even after independence. So we don't talk about those people also. So like they are treated like in Assam, they don't consider those tea workers as part of that Assamese society. In Bengal, they are not treated as Bengal, part of the Bengal society. So they are nowhere in their own land. So how do you reconcile to this also?
No idea only. I have no idea only.
But why should it be so adversarial?
It is.
But I mean, the fundamental reasons for it.
Colin, the professor sir is asking why is it adversarial? So it's not adversarial from the tribal side, but from the side of the government, every government, it is totally adversarial. Totally, tribals are the enemies of development. In court they tell me in land acquisition cases, तुम petrol pump देना, Gonsalves, you tell your client to take petrol pump. I said, sir, they don't want petrol pump. Then he says, they must come into mainstream. I told him, sir, they are the mainstream. you are the outstream. They are the mainstream, sir. They are already in the mainstream. So what they can't... See, it's a war. I have no doubt in my mind. It's a war that can't be prevented. It's a war that can't be mediated. It's a war that can't be compromised. Judiciary cannot help, government will not help, industrialists will not help. So it's a war that is going to happen, and in this war maybe we will lose, but it is a war. And that is the final. There's no answer to what you all are asking. There's no answer. You do your bit, I do my bit.
What are the hope?
मेरा काम कोर्ट में है, आप काम करोगे, आप टीचर होगे, प्रोफेसर रहेगा, कोई साइंटिस्ट रहेगा, you do your work. Only one mantra: we are resisting oppression. ये दमन नहीं चलेगा. We will fight against it. हमारा छोटा सा शक्ति है, लेकिन अंत तक हम फाइट करेगा.
So like
जीतेगा हारेगा हमारा कोई चिंता नहीं है. We'll fight till the end. That's all.
so I understand that labor law is also part of human rights, definitely. So but 600 million informal workers in India suffer day in and day out, and labor laws are being changed or not implemented. Like last few months, almost at least 5 to 6 states came out with amended notification that working hours being raised from 10 to 12 hours, 9 to 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours. So these are not being challenged in the court also. This is a gross violation of international labor organizations in standards also.
wanted to say something.
ये सवाल था और ये कि हम आशा कहाँ से करें? आप बोलते हैं कि लड़ना है, संघर्ष करना है. संघर्ष करने वालों को तो आप बिल्कुल अंदर कर देते हो. तो कहाँ जाए तो कहाँ जाए? क्योंकि जुडिशरी भी अभी आजकल जैसे आपने बताया कि उससे भी बहुत आशा नहीं कर सकते. तो क्या करें? पर्टिकुलर
बताओ बिना आशा, without hope, fight till the end. No आशा, sir. Live without hope. Live without hope.
Live without any.
T.S. Eliot said this, sir. T.S. Eliot. Live without hope. Hope will be hope for the wrong thing. Live without hope, sir.
No, I also want to stand with Ashok Bhai and ask the same question. How are we going to build the army to fight these people?
I don't know.
We need, see, because every time I go for different programs and I meet small grassroots organizations working at the forest level. I just came back from one. They tell me mining is going on in the remotest area. There's mining going on. They are fighting these people, but they also are losing their strength. So how do we give them more strength? How do we build the army? Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gadchiroli, everywhere you are having this enemy of ours. It's not a small battle we are going to, it's not a small war. It's a big, big war. And that, I don't know how we are going to build the army for that. Thank you.
I have to go.
There's a formal
So, India was never a nation except during the brief period of Ashoka time. Was never a nation except during brief period of Ashoka. Now, what happened? We had the French Revolution, the Baltic Revolution.
Excuse me, please. We have to.
We are also looking out for a
revolution. We will continue the
revolution.
discussion outside this hall. Okay. So I will now have. We propose a formal vote of thanks.
Go ahead.
Barnes. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation.
On behalf of the Center for Public Policy and Governance, Goa Institute of Management,
please.
We wish to extend a very big thank you to Dr. Colin Gonsalves for taking time out from his so many commitments to be here with us and enlighten us on his so many years of work in the field. Thank you very much, sir. We would also like to thank our director, Professor Ajit Parulekar, for his constant leadership, guidance and motivation. Thank you to Professor Sebastian Morris, Chair of the Center for Public Policy and Governance, for conceptualizing and designing this. Thank you to Professor Kinshuk Sarkar, Member, Center for Public Policy and Governance, for being a part of the entire conceptualization team and the efforts. Thank you to Dr. Pushkar, Director ICG, and the entire ICG support staff and team. Thank you to the YouTube live streaming team that's here, to our IT team at GIM. Thank you, Narendra and your colleagues. Thank you to Vineet Manjrekar for covering the event and for the videography and photography. Thank you to the support staff at GIM. I won't take individual names, right from EcoClean to all the other support officers who have made this possible. Thank you to our audience over here for a very interesting discussion. To those who have joined us in person, thank you. And to those watching us online, thank you. Finally, thank you for being here with us on a Saturday evening. On behalf of the center, we would like to present Dr. Colin with a small token of appreciation. I kindly request my colleague Nandini to hand it over to sir. Also, thank you to my colleagues at the center, Nandini and Shruti.
And thank you to Banis.